Good afternoon, everyone. DSP here, King Phil, as I'm now known as, I guess, across the internet. And welcome to episode 78 of DSP versus the internet. This is my weekly clips react show where you, the members of my DSP Reacts channel on YouTube, submit clips for me to watch. And we have a great time because it's a good variety show and I get to watch a big variety of topics and things discussed, and I get to share my opinions with all of you. It's a great way for you to be interactive with me by submitting these clips. So by all means, if you watch this show today and you enjoy it, please consider becoming a member. If you either become an ultra member or a submissions tier member, that's how you can nominate clips. If you're an ultra member, we are guaranteed to watch your clip. And so the first 8 videos we're going to watch today are from our ultra members. All right. And thank you to the ultra members who are supporting this channel and allowing it to continue as a successful project of mine. If you're a submissions tier member, then I take your suggestions and I put them into a randomized playlist. Now that I'm actually doing this on a great PC instead of on that app I used to use for like a year and a half, we can have a truly randomized playlist, which is great. So thank you guys so much. Without further ado, let's jump in and let's see what videos you got in store. For the first video today, New York Police Department, top life in the 70s versus 80s and 90s and today. Now, this clip is 23 minutes long. This is a clip show, so I'll watch some of it. Maybe we'll skim through it, all right? But I don't think we're going to be watching the entire thing, okay? Let's, I think it's spacebar?
I'm New York City Police. I mean, I thought it was the most ridiculous, no, not the most ridiculous thing. Shorts. The shorts on a police officer. Ridiculous.
We wanted to know how professionals have changed over time, so we got 3 different experts from multiple decades to share their experiences.
I worked for the New York City Police Department from 1969 to 1996.
Wow.
I served in the New York City Police Department for 20 years, from 1986 to 2006.
I served as a member of the New York City Police Department from 2003 to 2023.
I think it's cool that, like, you have a job that you're proud to be a part of, and so you kept the uniform and you could slap the uniform on later on to represent who you were. That's neat. You know, a lot of people, they just go to work like, I just did it for money. But these people are proud to have been part of the NYPD and they saved their uniforms. That's really cool.
Oh yeah, and this is the Plymouth Fury, 8 cylinders. They were good cars. And then they changed over to the blue cars.
But the Grand Fury, I liked it. It wasn't the fastest car in the world, had a V8. What I loved about it was, if you look at the front and the back, they're almost identical. It made it easy, it was narrow, great visibility. The K car in the back, they only had 1 or 2 of them when I was around. They were all busted up. Then we went to the Impalas. I didn't particularly care for the Impalas at all. I wasn't a fan.
So this is a Ford Crown Victoria, or Crown Vic as we like to call it. This was one of the first cars that I rode in. It felt more like...
The Crown Victoria was a very popular car for American law enforcement. The highway patrol in Connecticut, where I lived, one state over from New York, also drove the Crown Victorias. And it was funny because one of my classmates in high school, his parents, for his first car, bought him a decommissioned police Crown Victoria highway patrol car that they took all the police stuff off of it and just made it look like a normal car. But it was hilarious because he would pull up and everyone would think that a cop was showing up. And then he would roll down the window and you're like, you son of a bitch, you got us again. We thought it was a fucking cop. And it's you in this fucking car that looks just like a cop car, you ass.
Like driving a boat, the Ford Interceptor SUV. When they first started implementing these cars, only the bosses rode around in these cars. And then some years later, they integrated them into patrol. So this was a real like luxury to ride in. Super fast, handled great. It was just more modern coming from the Crown Vic to this.
Boom, boom.
And a bubblegum top, just the one light on the top. Now with these cars, you had the rack up here.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You had
That's where they
inside,
changed
there was
it.
better setup and better communications. And then years later, of course, they put computers in. They had found...
I wonder, you know, the one where you could put, it's just the single light. Aren't those the ones that like they would put it on top when they wanted to? For like the undercover cars? So you didn't know it was a cop, and then they would pull out the light and put it on top, turn it on, and now they start chasing your ass. They don't do that shit anymore, right? They don't do that anymore at all. Now the cars all have the lights on them.
That the siren here in the old cars, they weren't heard as well. This was a straight sound. You turned it on, that was the alarm. Here, you could have 3 different types of alarms.
The original sirens when I first started, the Grand Furies, and even after that, you hit the horn button once, and you get, we used to call it the whoop. Whoop them out of the way, whoop them out of the way, and you get that whoop. We had a couple different tones, right? You had that high-low European style, wee wah, whatever. I liked a little bit of a mix. One sound constantly kind of just gets lost in the sauce. So if you mix it up, change it up, maybe somebody ahead of you will say, oh, geez, something's going on. Let me get the hell out of the way. Now it's just you hit the sound, you get it.
They call it the grumbler. It would make like a rumbling sound. That the car would actually shake a little bit. Oh my God. It would just be like, everything would shake. That's it. That first,
Machine gun
When you have
alarm
sirens on,
siren.
People get out of the way for you.
Never.
But they always move for the fire department though.
A lot of them didn't have air conditioning. Used to have to fight to get an air-conditioned car. You'd sweat in these cars.
If you're asking if guys left the cars dirty, absolutely. So in the morning, sometimes you'd be picking up a real mess. You know, no gas in the car, coffee cups.
You would always smell like whatever someone ate. Everyone thinks their food smells good until the next person has to smell it.
And there was always an excuse.
Guys ever get punished for like leaving it dirty?
Yeah, this is one of the stories that some people used to do. If one particular guy would leave the car awful all the time, they'd go down, if they had a stable, they'd go down and put horse manure on top of the air filter just before they entered the door. And the guy who came in and relieved them and started up the car, and they'd go a few miles, and all of a sudden, this strange odor would come. That would cure the guy if he was dirtying the car, because he knew why that was done.
This actually
That would cure the guy. So, I mean, why couldn't they just have a procedure to have people clean it, and if you don't clean it, you get in trouble? Instead, they had to like haze people by putting horse shit into the vent. Why is there no formal way to just say, hey, you're not doing your job, you're getting in trouble now because you didn't do your job responsibility? The cops had to take it into their own hands. It turned into like a locker room hazing, right? To get them to do the right thing. That's kind of messed up. Oh man.
looks a lot nicer than the car I rode in. It has all its hubcaps, which is very rare. Our cars typically did not look like this, and it figures because it is a highway patrol car.
The other stuff that guys did to them, which I never really understood, ripping the vents out, they'd poke holes in the dashboard so that they could stick their pen in there to make it like a pen holder, and the guys are pretty abusive.
People like to pick up
yeah,
the steering
I'd
wheel.
say.
So there was always like little pieces of it missing for some reason.
Well, this is the regular 38 caliber service revolver. It's a 6-shooter.
It's what I started out with in the police department from 1986 till probably early 90s, 94. So this is a Glock 19 pistol. It was one of the service pistols that was available to us when the job transitioned to 9mm.
I carried a Glock 19. 9mm, it holds 15 rounds. Using a revolver, it's slow on the reload.
It was very difficult to load and reload. You'd have to put the bullets in one at a time. Then they came with these speed loaders, which were made of like rubber. You had it on your belt.
You put them all in at
take
once.
the speed loader out and you could put it there, but it never went in exactly right. The left militants, they were using bombs and they were using 9mm.
Criminals are carrying these guns, and we were kind of being outgunned in terms of capacity. Other than capacity, I never really felt outgunned with it.
So a trigger pull makes the gun harder to fire. This gun actually has a trigger pull of anywhere between 11 and 12 pounds. It's a very hard pull. I think the newer models that they have in 2021, they have a 5-pound trigger pull.
It has a trigger pull. It's double action, single action gun. So the double action pull is a little on the long and stiff side.
Did you ever have to pull your gun?
Oh yeah. One time, there was a man with a gun, and we go down in the basement, he's got a rifle pointed at me. You know, I had my gun out. So I disarmed him. Many times I could have used my weapon and it would have been what they call a good shooting, but I didn't. They didn't shoot, I didn't shoot. That's good.
Here's what I'm going to say. You pulled it almost every day, you know, for the most part. You really did. So, yeah, like I said, I was in a shooting. You know, not that I'm not proud of it, but not something I'd like to go over.
Do you ever have to pull your firearm?
No, I never put my firearm out on anyone.
Well, when I first came on,
This is fascinating. I would like to watch this whole thing, but again, this is a clip show. I can't sit here and watch the entire video because we have to get to everyone else's videos. But it's fascinating to learn about the history of law enforcement and stuff like this, how it changed over time, and to hear their different perspectives, right? So the first cop said, "Yeah, I did have to pull it, and here's a situation, but not like I guess not often." The second guy says, "I did it often, like all the time." And the third person says, I never had to pull it. And that was the most modern person. I mean, I guess that's good. I guess that means that the crime was getting better over time so that you didn't have to keep pulling weapons on people. I guess it's improvement, right? That's pretty good. Did I ever want to be a cop or police officer, Derek? I mean, when you're a kid, right, you fantasize about being every hero. You want to be a cop. You want to be a firefighter. You want to go to the army. You know what I mean? You want to be every real-life hero, right? And then as you get older and you realize, oh, my God, it's such a crazy risk. It's putting your own safety on the line every day to protect and serve everyone else around you. Those fairy tale feelings of being the hero kind of fade away for self-preservation purposes, right?
We were still using heavy wool. They called it serge. It soaked up the water.
Can I turn up the video volume a little bit? Sure, I can. Hold on. Thank you, Piff, for saying that, because I can't tell. I'm listening through my TV speakers, so it's a different volume than you guys. Sure, here we go. Ready? Okay, that should make it go. Let me know how that sounds now. Here we go.
This is the choker. It goes around the neck. The collar is buckled together so tight that they call it a choker. The 70s were one of the first to wear the powder blue. They wanted to show us off the
Powder blue.
So they went to the light blue.
Yeah, I mean, we started with the light blue shirts. They were kind of sloppy. And then, we transitioned to the dark blue shirts, which I wasn't crazy about at first, but I thought it looks a lot better, it looks a lot more professional.
This is standard wear. Most of these guys are wearing cargos, which were also authorized. Here, it looks like this guy right here is wearing a turtleneck with the shirt. This wasn't always standard. That was something that they implemented later.
You know what they say? Why they went back to the dark blue was that too many donut stains, coffee stains, and pizza stains showed on the light blue.
Yeah, I'm going to
That's
totally
great.
agree.
You're in New York City. You're going to eat the great food there. I'm going to eat the authentic donuts. I'm going to eat the amazing pizza pie. And you're going to get it all over yourself. So they had the great darker shirt. That's great. That's a great reason.
You would see mustard stains. The tires would have stains on it.
Would you get stains on your shirt?
I was meticulous about keeping my uniform clean and spotless, and some guys weren't. I remember doing a roll call one time when I was a sergeant in Brooklyn, and this inspector came in to do the roll call and inspect the troops, and he stopped in front of this one guy, and he looked at me and he said, Sarge, write him up. He said, slovenly appearance. I'm like, okay, that's what I'll do, slovenly appearance.
In Manhattan, you had to be extremely buttoned up. Him especially, he would probably get reprimanded for his wear. They inspected us in Manhattan like they did in the police academy. Your shoes had to be shined. Your uniform had to be like spotless, immaculate. Because you were in Manhattan, you were like a representative of the department. You really had to be on point.
Did you ever get reprimanded?
You got to understand something, right? These are people who are to protect and to serve. They're supposed to be the law enforcement that keeps everyone safe. You need to exude a level of professionalism and authority. If the person that's there to interject and enforce the law looks like a freaking slob, right? You tend to think, then probably they're not doing their job right. They're probably not trustworthy, right? If they show up and they're pristine and you could tell that they put a lot of effort into having that appearance, it means that they probably take their job seriously and they're going to do the right thing and you could trust them. It's a trust thing. Sorry, I'm not going to trust you if you show up with pizza stains and donuts all over your shirt. And you know what I'm saying? You're unshaven. You look like a mess. I'm probably not going to trust you, even if you're a cop looking like that, right? So I totally get that. It's good to know that they had to enforce that level of professionalism because a lot of jobs today don't have that anymore. We've kind of lost that, right?
Reprimanded?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did as a rookie.
I'm seeing if I know these guys. The thing that I hated the most, and that was the baseball cap.
The baseball hat at first I thought would be great. I said, all right, this is great. This is better than this 8-point thing here. And then they made you put that 2-pound hunk of metal cap device on it. So this is what we call the cap device. It has the NYPD or state insignia, whatever the case may be, the 2 Indians. And then underneath it would be your shield number, which had a threaded piece in the back that you screwed in, and that thread was about that long, and it was constantly hitting you in the head. It didn't last long.
I'm not on the New York Yankees, New York Mets.
Design.
I'm New York City Police. I mean, I thought it was the most ridiculous. No, not the most ridiculous thing. Shorts. That was the most ridiculous thing. The shorts on a police officer. Ridiculous. You see a number of mustaches. That's a police mustache. You see the picture here. Look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Everybody had a mustache. Guy walks into a bar. Gotta be a cop. Had a mustache.
Well, that's the 70s porn star stash. If you were a cop at that time, you had a mustache.
Were you allowed to have beards?
No beards. The only way you could have beards was you had to have, we used to call it the bumps, right? Which there's probably some technical name like a folliculitis or something, whatever. But if you had the bumps, you couldn't shave, but it had to be neatly trimmed. you know, look more like a 5 o'clock shadow. But no, not me. It wasn't
Oh,
my
I
thing.
get it. No, like me, I get that because I have incredibly sensitive skin. And if I shave every day, my entire face gets irritated, breaks out, and swells. I had to go to a dermatologist for it when I was in high school, and he outright told me, the only way you're going to be able to shave properly in life, you can't use a straight razor. It's going to irritate your skin too much. You have to get an electric razor, and you might have to use other things. And so now I literally shave once a week. I mean, thank God I have a job that I don't need to shave all the time. So I get it. So yeah, it's like having a waiver, exactly, a shaving waiver because you have sensitive skin. Yeah, imagine if they made someone shave all the time in the NYPD, but their entire face was a swollen pizza face of acne constantly. Yeah, probably not the intended desire of appearance, right?
So around 2016, they relaxed their policy on beards. I believe they probably initially did it because the job was becoming more diverse and a lot of people had beards for religious reasons. Of course, all the guys were happy about that, especially the younger ones, because they wanted beards because they felt it made them look older and people wouldn't know that they were doing the job, which, you know, was pretty funny.
I really like this clip, but I mean, we now watched it for 10 minutes. I feel like we should move on. Thank you to whoever submitted this Ultra member submission. This is a really good one. This is really interesting stuff, right? Thank you. I received a $6.90 tip. This is actually pretty cool. We're getting to hear real cops explain why the Crown Victoria was the definitive cop car. Now we get stuck with the Ford Explorer. This is coming from a Civi. It just doesn't have the same emotional weight. That Crown Victoria, I told you, it freaked us out when that kid would drive up in it. We were like, oh God, a cop is here, you know? And it has, you're right, it has a weight to it. When you see a cop car driving up, uh-oh, who did what? Who's going to jail, right? So, yeah, no, I agree with you. Thank you very much. That was actually the first tip of this live portion of the stream here. We had contributions earlier on my podcast. I appreciate that. That is, yes, up to 163. Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on to the next clip. So keep in mind, right now we're in Ultra member submissions. These are guaranteed to be watched, and these are the biggest supporters of my channel right now. So thank you so very much. Let's see what's next.
In the college admissions process, I feel like I had essentially every privilege possible.
I was thinking, well, you know, Harvard is kind of my top choice. It's not guaranteed that I'm gonna get in, but this little bump, because my father went there, will put me over the edge.
It's
Wow.
painful for me to think that all of my hard work in high school was so irrelevant compared to the fact that I was able to check the box that my dad went there.
Legacy
Yep. Legacy admissions. It's a huge thing in universities in the United States. I have absolutely been against this. For the record, and I know a lot of you may not know this, because especially if you're newcomers to my content, I was the valedictorian of my high school, of my graduating class in high school, year 2000 graduating class. I had insane amounts of extracurricular activities. I had volunteered time for, you know, like a Jewish home for the elderly. I was in Habitat for Humanity. I was in a bunch of clubs. I was in, you know, advanced placement classes, everything. And I had straight A's, like everything, right? Everything you could think of. I applied for top-level colleges, and every single one of them denied me, okay? I did get into a college with a big scholarship. It wasn't a full scholarship, but it was a pretty good scholarship, okay? But it wasn't a top-level college. Like these Ivy League schools, Yale, Harvard, Princeton, Brown, they don't care if you're qualified to go there. They don't. They actually aren't even looking for that. These colleges are looking for legacies, meaning the children of people who already went there who are filthy rich, or they're looking for certain quotas, like they want to fill their sports team so they can make a lot of money. The big universities in the United States very frequently aren't actually looking for smart people. They don't care. Let's watch this and I'll say more, but let's actually take a look at this video.
Admissions is affirmative action for the rich. I mean, objectively, it's affirmative action for the rich.
There you go. Affirmative action for the rich, because they really need that, right?
It never really was a decision to apply to Harvard. It was kind of like, well, of course that's where I would go. Of course that's where I want to be. Once you get in, they tell you,
you belong here.
You belong here.
You belong at Harvard.
Harvard Admissions Council, they do not make mistakes.
We did not make a single mistake.
Every single one of you
has earned your spot to be at Yale?
Penn chose you.
Because you are the smartest, because you're the brightest.
You were selected from almost 45,000 applicants.
You're the best, I guess, that America has to offer. And that's not really the case.
I applied to like 15 schools and got into 2 or 3 of them. It's pretty telling that one of those places that I got into was the place that gave me an explicit leg up.
I think for a long time, I really grappled with like guilt and self-esteem issues related to me attending Brown, because there was always going to be that voice in my head that was telling me, it's because you're a legacy student, it's because you're a legacy student.
I didn't want to be
I mean, I get that, and I understand it, but then why did you go? If you were so torn with the fact that you didn't earn it, then why did you take the easy way? That's my question, right? Like, if you actually have like morals, right? And you realize the only reason that you're going to have basically a rich life, you're going to be rich for the rest of your life because you're going to go to an Ivy League school because you're a legacy, then you're going to immediately get an insanely 6-figure high paying job, and then you're going to keep failing up. Because that's this class of people, they literally are the 1%ers who are controlling the vast majority of wealth in the United States, and they never let go of it. We've watched videos previous weeks, these ways that rich people have kept their money. They don't pay taxes on it. They literally just continue to hold all the wealth. And now they have a system in place so their kids just also continue down that cycle. They've literally built this system the way. You really think the people who are in charge of the Ivy League universities aren't part of this system? Of course they are. They're filthy rich too. And they're controlling the American populace by having things like this in place. But I guess my question is, if you're already a kid who's filthy rich because your family's rich, right? And you have morals and values, and you applied to a bunch of colleges and you didn't get into any real good ones except the one that you're a legacy at, but you have issue with that, then why did you go? Why didn't you? I mean, I understand these kids are young. I mean, these kids are like 18, 19 when they graduate from high school, right? So maybe it's just a really hefty moral decision to have when you're that young. But now coming out years later and saying, oh, I graduated, now I have issue with it. It's kind of like, well, yeah, but now you're rich. Now you're going to be rich forever. You're always going to have great jobs because you went to that school. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy, right? Like, I understand. It's good to know that some of these people have these feelings after the fact. But the point is, it's after the fact. You already have benefited from it. And now you're on easy street for the rest of your life. So I don't really know what good it has feeling that way after the fact when you've already had the massive benefit. All of us down here at the bottom who busted our asses our whole lives for every penny versus you who was born into it and given everything. You feel bad about that? All right, but then why did you accept it, right?
Reduced to just, he's a legacy admit. It's like telling the world, I don't deserve to be here. I'm a fraud.
I think there is a pretty natural human shame in admitting that you might not have earned something.
From birth, I've been given so many advantages. Both my parents are educated. They're doctors who went to Ivy League institutions.
Oh, what a surprise that both his parents are Ivy League doctors. And then they married and had another kid that went to an Ivy League school. Do you see what I'm saying? It's a whole upper echelon, the 1%ers of our American society. And they all stick together and they all keep this system in place, you see?
An affluent family that was able to send me to private school.
Before I got to campus, I was kind of filled with this tremendous sense of sadness. If not for these incredible strokes of luck, that befell me, where would I be?
Legacy students are overwhelmingly wealthy and they are overwhelmingly privileged in many ways that already give them a huge leg up in the college admissions process.
I wouldn't have a problem if it weren't so hypocritical.
You have just arrived at a place that values difference.
We do not want everyone to be cut from the same cloth.
You fucking bitch. What a fucking lying bitch. You literally promote the 1% mentality. That's how you select a ton of your admissions. You absolutely want the people cut from the same cloth to stay ahead. You are part of the problem, and then you get up there on that podium wearing your stupid fucking necklace like you're some kind of a cult leader, and you lie to everyone there to indoctrinate them into your cult. You fucking lying bitch.
They say all of these things, like the things that we care most about are having a diverse campus.
A thriving, diverse intellectual community is essential to academic excellence and critical to shaping the next generation of leaders.
To create future generations of successful people in America. But, you know, I actually lived with my dad's college roommate's son.
You know, there's people who I would run into on campus and I would say, you know, that last name sounds really familiar. I think that my dad knew your dad and they played lacrosse together.
A school like Harvard is a small world. Things like legacy admissions help those environments be more insular and more secluded from people who haven't been a part of them.
There you go. This upper 1% is insulating themselves from the rabble below. They don't want to be a part of our lives. They want us to work. They want us to be the cogs that make the machines that print the money that they benefit from. But they want to have this insulated life away from the rabble below. And that's why they have these systems in place.
These practices of maintaining admissions within a bloodline or within a family were literally the way that white Protestant college graduates hoped to exclude Jewish applicants.
If you hear someone talking about limiting who can live in a neighborhood or have a certain job, it is discriminatory. For some reason in legacy admissions, we hold that up to be virtuous.
It's so easy to say now, oh, I wouldn't have checked that box.
Because I can't go back in time. I think now all I can do is speak up about legacy admissions.
I have a responsibility to call out the hypocrisy of legacy admissions more than anyone else because I benefited from it.
I cannot say clearly and with enough emphasis to my alma mater, please get rid of the considerations of legacy status in admissions.
Ending legacy admissions just feels like a layup for equality.
It would never happen because these universities, the reason that they are so prestigious is because of things like contributions from these wealthy families, right? Allow the legacy admission to come in, they become rich, and then they're going to donate later on down the line to keep that alma mater going. It's a vicious cycle of money always changing hands and being pushed to the forefront. You know what I'm saying? It's messed up. It's a messed up system, man. It's broken. My life would have been very different. And not saying I don't like my life. I love my life, okay? I lucked out with the YouTube thing. But my life would have been completely different if after high school, I busted my ass in high school to become the valedictorian. And it was hard. There were other people in that school that were really smart, and I beat them through hard work, dedication, you know, all the stuff I did to become valedictorian in my high school, just to be told you're still not good enough because you're not rich and you don't check off one of these boxes of the people we're looking like to be on a sports team or for diversity. You're a white dude who's smart. We don't care. We don't want you at an Ivy League school. We were looking for rich people, or we were looking for these other boxes to check. Get the fuck out. That's what I faced. I was told my entire, youth, work hard and you'll be rewarded for it. When I graduated from high school, I worked hard and I got spat in my face saying you wasted all that time. And I really did. Because actually, after I went to college, I got nothing out of it. My university degree is a piece of paper that I can literally wipe my ass with if I run out of toilet paper, because it's done absolutely nothing for me in my life. It's never opened a door. It's never given me an opportunity because it's not from one of these top schools. Nobody cares. It's that messed up. So I wasted so much time in my youth. I could have been out there learning a job skill that I could have applied to something that was meaningful or applied to real life, instead of doing what I did, going to all that university, graduating from university. Now what do? I'll go work at Best Buy, right? It's like, great, thanks a lot. That was my experience.
Love for my kids to go to Brown, but more than that, I'd want my kids to see me speaking up against something that I feel is wrong.
It's as easy as removing the checkbox.
Get rid of it.
Legacy admissions has to go.
They will never remove it because that's their whole system is based on it. They need that system to continue to proliferate the donations, to keep that upper echelon 1% of the populace going. If the school system breaks down, now they have to find another way to rig the system. So, all right, guys, I hope you've enjoyed part 1 of DSP versus the Internet, episode 78. I'll see you all in part 2 for more Ultra Member submissions.